Hello, everybody. I hope everyone's great tonight. I hope you guys can hear me well. As always, somebody give me a sound check in the old chat room there. I'll get started that way. Let me know if we have any crazy echoes or anything else going on. So, hi, Matthew. So, let's see. We had Dan, Glassman's World in the house. We got Jeff Hall, One-Eyed Mike, Renee, Matthew. Welcome, everybody. Great to see everybody. I know we'll have a few others chime in. I know it's late, you guys, so but that's the way it is, like late night with Rob tonight. Oh, no, Kitty, you can't come up here now. But anyway, got a lot to talk about. I'm not going to stay on here too awful long, hopefully, but you know, it's how Enigma Recons, who knows. Wandering Star, good to see you. Oh, let's see. Oh, sounds good. Good deal. Might have to relocate a cat here, depending on how this goes. So let's go ahead and start cranking down our sound here. So yeah, how's everybody doing? So I just got done doing Phenomenon, which was awesome. Got to meet some super cool people. Pretty awesome. They had the guys they had up there that I really wanted to go see was Jay Stratton and Travis Taylor. And Jay Stratton being head of the Pentagon's, well, basically anything in the air technology trip for like 30 years. Travis Taylor was lead scientist. They were heading up the ATIP program. And now they've basically gone private, no longer working for the government. So they had put out that they wanted to start kind of a dream team situation where, you know, let's say an archaeologist is scraping the dirt and comes across, scrapes off the chrome edge of a craft in the ground. What the hell does a person do? So they wanted to create this group or aspect outside the government body, but with the government contacts and a lot of the resources, to give someone like that a place to call, basically. And so I just spearheaded right for him like a torpedo. Had to apologize for acting like a drunk groupie, but I needed to talk to him and just hit him straight up. So I hit him with a few of the bigger things that I've never really even been able to share public, even at this time yet. I mean, some really big finds, you know, ancient buried tech and things like that. We've mentioned it. The 0 Point site, we've mentioned that before. You know, that's where, you know, advanced ancient technologies put in a hill, you know, it'll fry. It's like Skinwalker Ranch stuff. It's just on steroids. Yeah, it'll fry all the equipment in your hand, fry your vehicles. Very unhealthy to be in the field. Top of the hills emitting a signal like a beacon, pulsing at 1/50,000th of a second in an algorithmic repeating cycle. Things like that. So we've got buried ancient tech or craft or whatever. But these are the guys who, if that was ever to come to light, they would be basically the only ones in the world that would ever do it or could ever do it. And so like I told him, you know, if I had, you know, it's been a lot of years I've set on a lot of things, and it's not because I don't believe in transparency, because everybody knows that I believe in being 100% transparent and truthful. But at the same time, if somebody gets the information, misinterprets it, or hides it from you, it doesn't do any good. Something of that gravity, well, you can't do anything about it anyway. And like I said, if I ever tried, I would have never been on the project anyhow, regardless of who took it over. And at least with these guys, if I go through them, my hopes would be I'd be part of that team and on that project. So I've also seen a couple other people who have jumped in on here. Ninja Dave, super good to see you. One-Eye Mike, great to see you. So let's go ahead and we'll start getting into it a little bit. So I did, like I said, I did Phenomenon, and I was going to say we could check out some files from Phenomenon if you guys want to. You can kind of see the back door to what was going on there. It was a blast, a huge venue, super well done. Really, really impressive as far as, you know, the overall goes. I was going to see if we had any just photos other than videos, but we do have this is one to kind of give you an idea of what the hall looks like. I'll see if this fires up. I'm not sure if it will or not. Well, So you can see, there's a lot of people here, man. My buddy Russell Accord wasn't there yet. So yeah, it was. You can see it was an absolute blast. The the organizers went way, way, way out. I mean, mind blowing, really, what they put together here, and the meals and all this stuff. Of course, they were smart because they had it all mixed up with all kinds of other events and activities you could do, like at night watches for UFOs in the sky. They had ghost hunting in different places, each of them done by the speakers and whatnot. And these were spendy deals. They're like 100, anywhere from 50 to 150 bucks a pop. So it was a hell of a venue. I was really very privileged to have been invited, and I've got to give total credit to, for one, Terry Carter for getting me to Moon Lake Gathering, and I'm going to just kill the audio on this. But Terry Carter for getting me to the Moon Lake Gathering, and that's where I was discovered by Wayne Smith, one of the producers for Phenomicon, and he basically came on stage when I was done with my presentation and just said, "Hey, buddy, Meldrum's out, you're in, period." And then it took him he caught some grief, and it didn't quite work out the way we expected, but it took him 2 years to get me in, and that was with, again, credit goes to Russell Accord and Ryan Skinner, because they were kind of fundamental as well. All of them basically went to bat for me with the committee. They're all on the committee, and to get me in the door. And I don't know, what took time to get me in there, and I did get set to a side room, but that's totally cool. So it was the largest venue by far I've ever been to, but at the same time, it was by far the smallest crowd I've ever presented to. So it was kind of ironic, but it was still a privilege to be there, and it had, great results. And I had a video up of the panel I was on, which I could probably not show you the video, but I could probably pause the video and show you the panel. Anyway, so this is the panel that I was on with James Keenan and a couple others. One of them, Don Mitchell, who is a Shoshone Native medicine man trained. He actually is training now with the Navajo as well. And he's also studying biblical studies. Talk about an intelligent guy. He's the second from the right. Amazing man. I mean, me and him hit it off like brothers, because that's just probably what we are on one level or another already. And then James Keenan, great guy, really great guy. Knows his stuff about dowsing with electronics and atomic harmonics. Uses a lot of that equipment, which is cool. Magnetometer and whatnot. And he works a lot with Mystery on Blind Frog Ranch, which is, those guys are awesome. I didn't know how they would be, really. And then kind of got in, and I met Dwayne Ollinger, the guy who owns Mystery Blind Frog Ranch. He was there at the hotel that we were staying at, and they were also there. And I guess they're filming for like 5 weeks or whatever, and got to sit down with about an hour and talk to him. And that's another one. It's just like blood brothers right off the bat. So he gave KX open access to all of their properties, whether it be Utah, New Mexico, Texas. And we're going to be working together in the future, because he's really trying to do the same thing. Is just tell the truth of all this. He's tired. He was lied to. His kids are going to be lied to. His grandkids are going to be lied to. And it's just like me. Just you can't take it knowing that. So getting the truth out about ancient history and all the ramifications and what all that means is first and foremost with him. So, ciao, buddy. You can't be here, bud. As you can see, I always have a cat visitor. My buddy. But yeah, so those guys were awesome. Now, I did have this video up, and then they let me know that, come on, cat. They let me know that I could not have that video up. So I politely took it down, and hold on just a second. You got to be a ninja around here just to deal with the kitties. Anyway, I politely took it down, didn't argue with him. But you can see it's pretty cool. And they sell it. If you guys want it, you can probably search Phenomicon. And it's a good panel. And made a lot of good points. Had really good responses. Matter of fact, I got a big applause during my answering. And I don't know if anybody else got that or not. But it was super, super cool. I was kind of looking to see. Yeah, now my presentation was done in a side room. And this is what, that looked like here. And it was pretty small place. Worked out really well overall. I mean, really, really did. So, and the meeting of Jay Stratton and really Don Mitchell was the highlight of that whole thing. Kind of mind blowing, actually. I'm going to hit the chat room real quick here and take a look and see what we've got. Got some layered windows happening. Let's see who else is tripped in here. Oh my gosh, Cat, you're going to get in big trouble. You can go back over here and lay down, but you got to stay back there. So Steve is the hall got you here. So I also want to say, I know that there's probably a lot of new watchers, listeners, whatever, because we had a lot of new subscribers. I want to say thank you to Steve for sending you guys this way and his appreciation of what we had to put forward. I know that one way or another we're kind of on the same quest because truth is first and foremost, and there are people that stand in the way of that. So I just want to say welcome to all you guys. Straight up, you've never been here before, seen a live or Enigma Recon. The way this usually works out is it's really informal. Somebody needs to tell the cat how this works out. He's playing with my cords now. We could all shut down. But anyway, so we just do kind of an open forum. I'll do a lot of back and forth with the chat rooms. If you have any questions, comments, anything like that, shoot them out to me right away. And I'll try to catch up back to those and we'll address them. We can surf files. You guys can ask questions, and if it's in this computer, I will pull it out and we'll take a look at stuff. There are a few points I want to make today. One is we're going to be going over a photograph of a, let's see here. Oh, wow. Where are we at? I got windows everywhere. So yeah, there's a photograph. Oh, that's not the right one. That it was floating around online and it apparently shows what looks to be a body on a cliff, and that's the picture we're talking about right there. And you can see it is pretty considerable. It's odd. There's a lot of points to this. Well, oh my gosh, he's about to unplug us. No. Well, you can't do that there, buddy. So you're not, dude. So anyway, but there's a lot of points to this that look, of course, like a body, and that it could be anything, right? I mean, it could be a mineral stain. People have suggested ice, limestone, calcium. Could be an old bird's nest with all the rundown of all the white droppings that they get. But I did put it through some work, and we'll be going over that here in a little bit. And I don't think it's a mineral stain, ice, or bird droppings. And we'll go over that and show you why. We're also going to be talking a little bit about the new conference that I'm about to go do, the Ozark Mountain Bigfoot Conference. Some amazing people putting this one on. It'll be my first trip to Missouri, and then we're going to go out afterwards and do a little Bigfooting, potentially with that group. But there's also a buddy of mine that lives up there that has gained us special access to some of the res land with one of the natives from that area. So I think we're probably going to take them up on that one, go stay up in there, camp up in there somewhere, kind of see what happens. Other than that, if anybody as well, if you guys want to do a call-in, I hope we're rigged up to take call-ins as well. And so, if you want a number, let me know, and I'll get you the number. And if you're one of my bros who have the number and you just want to come and call in and chat on here, that'd be great. Wouldn't mind trying that system out now. So who else do we have in here? Matthew House, Keely Pack, good to see you. Todd, good to see you. Oh, it's great seeing my familiar names and faces in here. How cool. So yeah, if you guys didn't see what Steve Isdahall had up for us and what his whole deal, you guys need to go check out. I mean, this is for the viewers that haven't gone over there yet. You need to go check out his last few videos, because he had a few things in there that were considerable, and it really explains who the guy is and where he gets his motivation to take on the big guys, right? And he gives us great kudos, and it really felt good for that to happen, because I don't remember him ever doing that before, where he send people to some other channel to see something or whatever, and that really felt good. He did that, even though the situation kind of sucks. The reasons we have to do those things kind of stink, but whatever, doesn't really matter. So I was gonna go. So I guess we can go ahead and get into the situation with this Cliff corpse deal. And if you don't know what I'm talking about yet, we're going to try to bring this up. Oh, I guess it may have shut down. Might have to bear with me like a few seconds, whatever, or a month. Hopefully not a month. Oops, hit the wrong button. We'll get there. We usually do at some point or another. Let's go to... I believe... Boy, I did go through a lot of crap, didn't we? I'm trying to get to the right one. So there's a lot of these posts that went up with this article in it. But the best one to really see, I guess, well, we'll look at this one, because this is an interesting aspect of it. And we'll have to open the window and make sure our window works. Let's see what happens. I have to go configure this thing real quick. I think that's it. That's it. Okay. Okay, so watch hikers photograph giant humanoid figure climbing a mountain in Colorado. Now, you'll look on the right-hand part of that. I don't know if you guys can see my... There we go. You can see my cursor. So this is the figure, but it doesn't really look anything like the figure I showed you a minute ago. And that's the interesting part about this. We're not going to play all this because I don't know if there's copyright or whatever. But at the same time, look who's doing it, coast to coast. And we all trust these guys as our paranormal source, right? They're not going to... If anybody shows the good pictures, it's not going to be... It's going to be these guys. If anyone shows the hype or something weird, it's probably going to be somebody else. Well, that's not exactly true. And I say that because when we...
They are two best friends on a hike.
Wow, that's loud.
When they stumble onto something really spooky. Jesse Clausen and Camille Avarella were taking lots of videos and photos trying to capture the magnificent landscape.
Okay, so what we're actually going to notice here that I want you to pay attention to is right here. And if you... Oh, come on, you guys. You're going to do that to me. So what you're going to notice, though, when I play this, is it looks like a cartoon, literally. The thing just looks absolutely cartoony. And it probably showing you this whole window. I don't know what it's showing you. I can't see it anymore. But the point is, it's not the same image as the real image. And this is being shown by Inside Edition. They apparently redid this with CGI and screwed it up to where it doesn't even look like a being anymore. You can see it right here. It's definitely not what you'd think. Again here. And if you look at this, they just made a joke about it, but they actually changed the image. Now, changing the image is crazy. You think, You know, why in the world would they ever do that? And I don't know, besides the fact that the real image could be compromising or be challenge them somehow. I mean, this is the actual picture that we have that they did for Inside Edition did. And you can see it looks like, well, it certainly doesn't look like any real living, potentially living creature, right? I mean, just take a look at that. Matter of fact, just looks absolutely cartoonish. And that's not the image. You know, this is the image. This is the full res image as recorded, taken directly out of the video. That doesn't really look anything like the other one. This looks like, wow, that thing could be a body hanging on wedged into a cliff, especially a decomposing corpse or whatever, hairless, clothes, no clothes. And the rock looks real and everything looks accurate. You know, if this is enhanced and treated correctly, a better version of that image. This was kind of a base version with a little bit of light enhancement done. And this is a version with quite a bit of enhancement done. And we can see, you know, a lot of details here. Well, for one, I mean, you can't even make out the bend in the arm here or the potential hand and fingers hanging here, or that there's a shadow separating that from the cliff. This shadow separation means that's not a mineral stain. This is something hanging over the edge. Now, I'm not saying it could be a dead tree or a bleached tree or something, but it's an object hanging over the edge. And how do we know that? Well, there's a method at which can be used to take this image and map it to a three-dimensional form like this. And then what we have is, oh, Dan Dillman's calling me in. We're going to check this out. Hold on. So yeah, Dan, why don't you go ahead now and just do a real quick reintroduction, and we'll see what we get here.
Yeah, absolutely. My name is Dan Dillman. I'm a third-generation treasure hunter, researcher, and explorer of the unexplained. You know, I've been involved in all these different areas, everything from, you know, treasure hunting to, you know, paranormal investigating to really just the unexplained. Ever since I was a little kid, my grandfather and uncles are the ones who got me, you know, into the whole scene. Basically, my grandfather was an ancient alien and ancient treasure researcher before the terms were ever coined, you know?
Yeah.
And so it's really the family business, man. So, and we've had experiences with Bigfoot, and, you know, so that's why I really respect what you're doing, because we know it's real. We know it's a real phenomena, and also going back in time, we believe the reports of the ancients. You know, everyone calls them myths and legends like they're not real. These are oral tradition, oral history being passed down for generations and eons, and we know that these beings exist. So I think what you're, you know, talking about and put on Facebook tonight is hell of important. And even if it turns out to be fake, you know, it's going to take it takes someone like you who is badass at what you do to get to the bottom of it. So I think it needs to be investigated.
Yeah, well, thank you very much. Yeah, I feel the same way. When I saw it, I'm going to go ahead and turn on another audio system here. When I saw it, it just, you know, some things strike me, other things don't. And there was a little too much going on, you know, just a little too much going on for me. So, and I think, what's the possibility? So I'm not sure how anyone can blow something off so lightly as to go, oh, it's probably mineral stain, because the implications, if it's not just a mineral stain, and they said it looked 20 foot tall on that cliff. Of course, you know, they're looking a mile away or 3/4 of a mile away to cliffside. And two girls, I don't think they're going to be able to judge that accurate, but huge, obvious. And so if you have a huge, obvious corpse hanging in a cliff, even the finite potential of that, the implications are so large, how could you not do something to find out?
Exactly. And I think it needs to be done quick, because you know, as soon as you start talking about it on social media and this conversation starts to expand, those who may not want such things discovered are going to get up there as quick as they can to get it removed, man. So I think it's important. It would be really cool if there was someone in that area who could get a drone up there and see what it is. See if it's still there. See, and if someone could stay there throughout the day, and let's see if it's trickery of light and reflections. But as soon as the news starts saying, making a joke out of it, they're telling you, right? It's kind of what they do. They tell you something that's going on, but then they make a joke of it or make people, out to be crazy for even thinking that it could be truly something supernatural or special, I should say.
Right.
So, yeah, man, it's worth checking out.
Yeah, and so right now I pulled up another article on it. It's from the Daily Mail, and what's interesting to me, I mean, there's just so many weird things that occur with this, So you've got Coast to Coast. They have huge people working for them, pulling information and sources and whatnot, and they decide to use Inside Editions with that fake-ass generated picture that doesn't look like anything that could have been a living thing. And then you have the Daily Mail, who, on the other hand, throws out, as we can see now, I'm looking on the screen, pictures of the entire mountainside. It was the original shot. Below that, they actually show the high-res original. Someone has circled it at one point or another, but it's basically, this is the best resolution version that's online. I don't know why that window just turned black, and that's interesting. But regardless, there's the picture we need. So, but it's interesting to me that Coast to Coast misses it, puts up the bullshit picture, while Daily Mail is throwing you the high res, here it is. And why would Inside Edition go to the, what it takes, and then they highlight it and they make it glow and the whole 9 yards. Why would they throw that through the studio and do that to that? What's your opinion? Why would they do that?
Well, one of the reasons that they would, let's say they ran it through an AI upscaling software, if this is what you're asking me. When they do that, it will create more of a CG look to the original file. In my opinion, is they would only do that. One, sure, they could try to do it at first. Say, hey, can we get a better, image of this? Can we see this better? Can we make it out better? But clearly, what they've done is created, a version of the original that just looks fake. And so, if it is real, let's just hypothesize and say it's real. Well, then them disseminating the fake images so that when the normal Joe goes and looks at it, they say, oh, that's CG, that's AI, that's CG.
Yeah.
Because, in fact, what they're showing is AI, and
yeah.
It is manipulated, it does look fake.
Yeah, that's what I got. It's like they say, they end it right there. People are just going to go, yeah, I saw that picture. It was trash. And then someone would say, well, did you see the other picture? And they're not, who would bother to go look? They've already formed their opinion.
Right. And quite honestly, man, I'm surprised. Like, once again, the source are these young ladies who were hiking, taking a selfie, and reported it to the authorities because they thought somebody or something was hanging off this cliff in danger or dead.
Yeah.
So that's how they reported, what they discovered from the images. So they didn't think it was a joke at that time. Now, they were kind of making fun of them, in my opinion, when I watched the little news reel on it. But, it all started out with a credible incident with these ladies concerned that there was something wrong. So I'm surprised that instead of just saying, oh, it's artifacting and light, how it reflects off the mountain, they didn't send a helicopter up there to see what was up, unless they know what's up. And they, once again, are purposely wanting to just tell everyone, hey, this is some bullshit. This is fake. Sorry, I don't know if I can cuss.
Too late.
Nothing to see here.
Right. Yeah, no, that's what kind of got me too. That's how I usually know there's probably something more to see there. Because even if they really didn't think it was, they'd be like, wow, look at that. It really looks like it is, blah, blah, blah. Instead of, no, you guys, it's not. It's probably just nothing. And you're right. It's like, why wouldn't you go look, especially with so many. I mean, the Colorado Rockies. I mean, huge mountaineering, and they have people fall off stuff all the time. So, yeah, you would take it serious. Be like, oh gosh, there's a guy maybe hanging on the edge of the wall. Yeah, it. Kind of got me too. I don't know if do you potentially, do you have the video we're running our stream up right now?
I don't. Tell me, I just called you on your phone. Tell me I can run in front of a computer and I can definitely.
Yeah, why don't you do that if you can? Then I'm going to throw up some enhancement and stuff, some 3D work on that, and I think you probably want to jump in on it. And what it is our channel is KRYDER Exploration, and that's KR. Yeah. Yeah, whenever. So I'm going to look in the chat room here and see how people are doing. Oh, we don't have a whole lot of questions. So if you guys have any questions out there, throw them into the chat right now, and Dan and I will get to them. Now, I'm going to let you know, right, too, that as you can see in the picture we've got up, Dan Dillman, he's got a history with the Lost Gold, the Aztecs cast from the History Channel. So, this isn't, your Joe Blow. This guy's been around and seen it and done it. So, and, the company we were running with, even up there at Phenomicon, we're a pretty outstanding group of people. And some point or another, we're going to get all of us at the table from what it looks like. I can't imagine what could be done if all this talent's put in one place.
All right, I think I am there, and it looks like it wants me to join. Let's see.
I shouldn't have to join.
I've never gone on Patreon, so.
Oh no, you don't have to do the Patreon. Just do YouTube and
Okay.
KRYDER Exploration channel.
Your name?
Yeah, well, KX and then KRYDER Exploration, KRYDER.
Exploration.
And that'll get you there.
I'll have to subscribe to your channel, brother.
Oh, yeah, you do. We're just throwing up everything now.
All right, there you go. Bam, you're live. Okay.
Yeah, so let's get into these files here.
Sort of ad real quick. There we go. All right, bam. I am there.
Okay, cool. So what I'm going to bring up first is kind of the raw image on this deal. And then we've been looking at already, and then we'll throw up some enhancement. Now, from this, you guys can see there's a lot of potentials for what everything is here. And without doing some type of work, it's basically all conjecture and opinion. And so to get past the opinion stage, we do things like I showed you a moment ago, where we take this, and we'll actually probably pull it in. But what this is now, Dan, is this has been mapped using I believe it's gamma that they're doing it with, but to get the 3-dimension out of it. So you can even see where the line, they've even given a small bit of dimension to the line circling. But the value of what we see isn't consistent with something in the rock. And right now, where my cursors I'm showing is where what would look like if it was facing outward, the left arm, or if it's facing inward and it's broke, the right, but is overhanging the edge. And it's pretty obvious that the features extend beyond the rock. In other words, because we have shadows behind them. I don't know if you can see that image or not, but if you can, go ahead and give me some.
Yeah, I can see what you're highlighting and pointing to.
Yes.
Did I lose it?
No, you're here.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah, you're here. So this is the next in that series, and we've just kind of turned it a little bit to get more of a dimension. And we're going to go ahead and throw this into a program, I think, live and do some of this work.
And
but
what mountains again in Colorado were these? Was this picture?
What do you got?
Oh, yeah, you cut out for me. I was asking because I didn't take full note on where the girls were hiking where they took this photo.
It didn't give the actual exact location from any of the articles that I could see. I actually have one up right now in front of me. And yeah, I'm not getting, I don't see, they didn't mention it. It just says the side of a Colorado mountain.
Well, because I'm aware, that the San Juan Mountains have been known, to have Bigfoot lure like forever, going way back. So I'm just curious if it's the San Juan, and shit. At that point, there's even more reason to go check things out.
Right, because of the historical aspect and the many
Right.
sightings in that area. Yeah, and so some of the other points here that I was looking at when we first started doing this is I started to compare it with the body as far as the points of reference, the joints, the legs, and things like that. And I'm going to go ahead and, if I dare, try to do this real quick. I'm going to open this image in a program, and we'll be able to look and see a little more and spin this thing around. I mean, yeah.
Robert, what's your opinion on where he's hanging? Does it look like there's a cave opening there, or did he come? You think he fell further, a little bit higher up that cliff and fell down? Can you see that little area? I mean, it could just be shadow too,
No, I agree. That's something I was actually looking at, and I don't know. It does appear to be a gap. You have an overhang, pretty obvious. I'm going to put that picture back on the screen. We'll put this one on. So there is something obvious there. It looks like an obvious gap or cavity, and then you've got that horizontal edge with a dark. And I didn't get back during the enhancement and stuff. I don't get anything back from back in that crack. Most of this stuff, depending on how I turn it up, I can see the values quite a ways in there, and I really don't get much back from that. So it could be a cavity. I mean, it could be, right out front of a cavity. Hard to tell, though. Very, very difficult to tell. Now we're gonna take. I guess we'll put this image in. So what we're gonna do is actually open this thing in Photoshop, and as soon as I move things around where I can get the image I want in there, and this image that we're putting in has already been. Now I didn't work with the original super high res image, and right now I'm going to see if our window capture will let me grab my Photoshop screen. It might not. Let's see here. Let's hoping it would, because then we could work it in real time. So, is that it? Nope. Is that it? Nope. I guess people are getting to see whatever pops up here, though. Wait, is this it? That is it. We're on the screen. This is awesome. Okay, so this is, let's see, make sure we're flying along here. So this is that you guys are actually looking at my Photoshop screen now. And this is the raw high res, and we did not work on this image. I didn't have this image at the time. So I actually took a shitty image, and we used Gigapixel and some other AI tools to rebuild a lot of the missing information in the image. And then what we do is we're going to take this. Let's not go in too close. Oh, that was my mistake. And we're going to throw this thing into a 3D filter here. Depth map to plane. Okay, so this should throw us into a 3D map, and it's going to build a mesh out of what it sees in values. And it's not in color as much as it is in like gamma values. So if you were to put this thing in black and white, let's say. And so now what you can see is the value change between, and also how much different it is than rock. So you get kind of a texture. Now the orange or the yellow circle that was around it there, that was transparent. So we see the rock texture right through it. Now in that image, you didn't really see the rock texture that much, but here mathematically, looking at the image, this is the differences in it. And what you can notice about what would be the subject is it doesn't have that texture to it, right? So I don't know if you're seeing that yet. I know there's a little lag time between what I'm doing and what you're going to see, but do you notice what I'm talking about, how smooth that extrusion is compared to what we see as the rock?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and then when we flip it, we can see that the difference in value is actually tremendous to anything else. It's a lot of difference in value. Now, what we can do here, though, is if we want to, we can click on this and we'll get this measure and we'll draw back the scale, and we can kind of take it mathematically to what would be about right there, somewhere in that. And we can see the values of what we've got kind of going on here now. And then this allows us, of course, to take a 3D look. And now we're not, this isn't supposition, right? This isn't our opinion anymore. Now we're looking at something sticking out from the rock face.
Yeah, for sure.
Right? I mean,
yeah.
And if I go to the flat plane view, it's obvious. And this isn't, that's the thing, is people say, well, I'll put my opinion, here's what it is, and then they stand by their opinion. But when we do work like this, it's not a matter of opinion, right? It's just math.
What I would say, Ben, is someone please go prove you wrong. Prove us wrong. Please,
right?
Go there and prove us wrong.
Yeah, please, because the only way to do that would be get up there and take a look, and I'd really like to know. Yeah, I agree. I mean, I really agree. And, something else this lets us do, I could change our background a little bit, but I think base color, what are we at? Oops, that didn't help, did it? Oh, that's interesting. So, again, the value of it is just different than everything else in the picture. And I've just basically turned off the imagery and to just kind of an embossed deal there. We're going to turn that back on, I hope. Okay. Now, something else this lets me do, though, since it mapped this mathematically, we can change the actual angle of the light itself on this subject. So we can do some pretty odd tricks with the lighting by just moving us around. And then we can see basically how that value looks, and we can kind of get other details out of that subject. Now, I don't know if anybody's ever seen anyone do this kind of work with an image to kind of tell what you've got going on, but I just wanted everyone to just get a motion look at what we do to be able to tell, more than just our opinion. So when we speak about something or a subject, it's usually after hours and hours of this stuff. So, but yeah, so what do you think after taking a look at what you're seeing happen here now?
Yeah, man, I once again, I think we've got, enough evidence here that it looks like something. I mean, it even looks to me like if you kind of look right at the top, it almost looks like the head. I could see the head, inside of that opening or cavern, to where even it looks like, of course I can't point to it for you.
I'm pointing at it right now. It'll catch up to you in 5 or 10 seconds probably.
Yeah, but it looks like it, the head is hanging forward, right? If I'm seeing it correctly.
Okay, and without me saying anything, I thought the same thing, and I kind of stopped it in a frame here to where it kind of looks like the head might be detached from the body.
Yeah, right. Like he's decapitated or he broke his neck.
Yeah,
and it is just hanging.
Yeah, and I mean that's what happens to corpse anyway, as they decompose. Everything's just kind of going to slouch and end up laying where it is as it falls apart. The skull certainly not out of the question. And yeah, that's the same thing I thought when I saw this particular view I've got up right now. That's exactly what I thought. I thought, you know what? That looks like its head laying there.
Yeah. And then the feet too. Looking at the feet.
Yeah.
I'm kind of curious about about the feet. Are they not so humanoid, or is it just because, obviously our resolution and how far away we are?
Yeah.
But, a little interesting. But it's just really, really amazing to me that, we've got what appears to be some humanoid. I mean, we got the arms, we got the legs, we got the torso, we've got what appears to be a broken neck. Is it possible that it's not? Sure. But like I said, it's so interesting. And, I believe that when things are discovered the way this was discovered with the photos, right, it's like the universe giving us little glimpses for those of us who are awake and, eyes are open, ready to see this type of stuff. Because, what are the chances that these ladies are doing what they're doing and then happen to be reviewing their photos and call in an emergency? Once again, people need to understand these ladies believe that someone could possibly be dead or hanging there, and they probably, didn't consider, how big or small it was. Once again, I'd have to go back to the reel, but this is absolutely interesting.
Yeah, I mean, it kind of blows my mind, and now I'm gonna go through, as soon as I set up here a little more, I was going to go ahead and point out some of the points of reference that kind of got me to believe in, wow, this is probably something. And one is, where the joints are. And, if I mark these, everything where it is, and so right now I just put 4 dots, and I want my shoulder, elbow, wrist, and the tips of the fingers. And I can do that very easily on all of the parts here, and they make sense. I can see bones protruding out what would be the back down to the spine. Both hip sections countered. The rib section appears to be jutting out, probably from decomposition. That's kind of, it makes sense. And even the bottom of where the buttocks would be on both sides, we have back of the knee on both sides, calf on both sides. You have your heel, and you have what looks like that ankle area of the tendon, and then the feet. And it's interesting to me that something random, there shouldn't be a symmetry to it.
Not this much.
Because
maybe an arm. All does not look like an arm, but we've got the entire body here.
yeah, you have the entire body, and that's kind of what got me as well. And when I started doing, oops, I don't want that one. When I started doing the marks on these things, I was kind of blown away because, oops, let's go a little thicker. Because you shouldn't have this type of balance to the form. Where the hips would be, and based on the spine curve, and then where all this stuff lines out, yeah, is pretty amazing. And right now I'm just throwing some kind of lines to get the gist out of what this is. But yeah, I mean, that's what got me, is when I actually started doing the kind of the geometry, or the measuring of the morphology, and saw, wow, wait a second. Everything is, if you hung a form that wasn't completely decomposed, everything literally is where it should be.
Right.
And I counted originally, when I started doing it in depth, about 40 points. And then I didn't see anything that was inconsistent, right? So what's the mathematical odds, So is this worth taking a look? It's like way out there. Yes, it's worth taking a look. Even with no opinion at all, and just measuring things and doing the math. It's like, how could you ignore it at that point, So pretty crazy stuff.
It's a mystery for sure. It's something that, if it hasn't already been removed, time is of the essence to go figure this out. If it ends up being that exact shape is there and it's gone, and it ends up being rocks, well, fine. But
Agreed.
at that point, I would say it's a petrified giant stuck on the side of the mountain.
Yeah, if it's rock, I know, because it's just too much. Well, I'll tell you, I mean, the mud fossil crowd, those guys don't jump on this thing. I mean, it's just mathematically too damn correct. That's the part that bugs me. It's just mathematically the ratios to the width of the shoulders versus the hips versus the length of the forearm, the arm. And okay, this one kind of got me too, because the arms look too long to be modern human.
Yeah.
When I look at kind of how they are in proportion, they look more in proportion to what a Sasquatch or a Bigfoot arm is, which is quite a bit, 20%, 30% longer than ours. And that's actually what it looks like. And people have mentioned, you've heard of these things called the crawlers.
Yeah.
And people, the sci-fi version would be the rake, which I really like that name. I think that's what we should call them. But anyway, that's what other people have mentioned as well, because it actually looks like one. They look like this alive. They look like a corpse anyway. But but the size, I think, the way those girls related the size of this, and the arm length and stuff, I just think there's such a high potential that if this is not just an illusion, pareidolia, then I think that wow, oh wow, somebody with the means, get your ass up there and go look, man. Take a drone, find out where them girls got it. If you're from Colorado, get a drone and fly it up there and go see, and then call us. And hit it right.
And then even if it is missing, so let's say that some organization has already done this because of the noise starting to be generated. I'm sure after you're talking about it, it's going to be on their radar. It's already on their radar. They wouldn't allow it to be on national news to try to foo-foo it. They weren't aware. So if it is gone, I would like to know, is that an opening there? Because we know that there are facilities and underground facilities, some run by our government and some that are not. And so it would be interesting to know if we've got an entrance into some facility here. Then we start hypothesizing, okay, what was this creature or being doing here, right? And so I start racking my mind, trying to use some common sense. Okay, if this is an ancient creature that is more Bigfoot-ish and staying away from crowds, this may be where it lives, into this cave and cavern system, or is it something else? Is it even possible? Now I'm going to go out on a limb here because I'm more into believing that it would be a Bigfoot or something of that nature. But is it a government experiment DNA manipulation and cloning and yada yada, and this is the facility that it's at? I may be going out on a limb here, but anything is possible.
Well, I mean, you're not going out on a limb for supposition, just because we know of CRISPR now, and we know that we probably didn't hear about CRISPR technology till 20 years after they had it. So there's really no telling. It's not out of the question, And when you're talking about extreme or odd examples or anomalous things, then it's usually going to take extreme, odd, or anomalous explanations. So that's not out of the question. And I think you're right. I mean, if this, whatever this thing isn't there, then certainly what's at that crag? We do have, the raw image that we can take a look at here, actually. So I might be able to, we can go in there a little bit to it. Here, let me reduce this a little. So, what did that open with? That must be a weird image. Let me see if I can open this with the right program here, so it'll show up. So how's your evening going, Dan?
Oh man, it's going good. I was just winding it down. Been working on a few things, and I was about to go watch some television with the wife, and then I saw your post, and I said, oh shit. I said, let me give you a call. I was hoping it wasn't too late, and then I noticed you said 30 minutes. I figured I was 40 minutes too late, but it looked like it just started not so long ago.
Yeah, no, you had perfect timing, actually. So what we got now is the full-size image, and And for anyone curious what this could be, is doorways wise. I mean, if there's mineral here, if this is mineralized ground, that could certainly be an upper mine entrance as well. But boy, is it in a hell of a cliff! I'll tell you what. Wow.
For sure.
Yeah. Wow.
Well, and what about that? You got access to Google satellite? Well, shoot, we don't know exactly where this is, do we?
No, and there's I don't know if visually. Let me see how much information there is. There's no skyline visible. I was going to say, so sometimes with this amount of peaks here, we could get kind of a grip and potentially figure out where this is, because I think we have, looks like buildings potentially in the bottom of the valley down there, maybe. I don't know. That's potential. I can't really tell. But I mean, it shouldn't be that hard to figure it out. I mean, it's not like it's a top secret base or something.
Yeah, and like I said, they very well may have given it up in that news article that I had shared on your timeline there. I didn't retain that information. I wasn't paying attention at the time.
Well, that's all good. We'll do a follow-up or something on this deal. So I'd also, if you want to kind of get together and do this in the future too, I think it'd be super cool.
Oh, absolutely, man. Absolutely.
We can do cams and all that crap too. I got to figure it all out. I'm using Streamlabs, and it's a little bit complicated. They hijacked over OBS, and so it'll do all kinds. So I should be able to just like send you a link, and then you hit it, and your camera comes up. Bing. I hope. I think that's.
Yeah. For sure. And I would love to have you. And I don't do enough. I just don't do enough social media, man. I go in spurts.
Right.
Yeah, I need to have you on mine as well too, so we can.
Well, I do the same thing, and it's just, you know what it is we're not content creators per se, right? We're we're a little bit different than that, because we're explorers, and so exploration doesn't really fit a schedule, and I know it's very difficult for me too to lock down, because I don't know what the hell's going to go on. Everything's in flux all the time. That's just kind of that I think that's the mentality of a researcher and explorer, and not like an author or a content creator. I think there's kind of a difference.
Yeah. I agree with you, man. You can't, if I say I'm going to be, really not if I say, if someone tells me to be somewhere at a certain time, I may be there an hour early. I could be a couple hours late, man. I'm operating on my own time schedule. Yeah,
now I've been working in the movie industry. We always had to be everywhere by the minute. They say a minute early is too early, a minute late is too late, and all this shit, just for that kind of thing. But no, I totally know what you mean. I mean, and like discovery doesn't come on a schedule. Opportunity for exploration doesn't come on a schedule.
No, man, you are 100% right. It's the phone call or the email, and I'm sure you get tons of them like I do. But every once in a while, there is something that's like, okay, hold on now. This looks interesting. This needs to be investigated. So yeah, it can come at any time, any day.
So hey, I'm gonna jump over to the chat real quick, see if we have any questions. You don't mind hanging out a little, do you?
Sure. No,
cool.
Man, I appreciate you. I'm humbled that you asked me to come participate.
No, I think it's cool. So I really enjoyed talking to you and hanging with you, even though we didn't get a super big chance to really, really sit down and jaw it up there. I knew it was going to happen. So I got to say thank you real quick for $2 from Big Headed Martian, man. Cool. Thank you very much. That's badass. We rarely get any kind of thing like that. We're not like some big channel, so that's really special. Imperial Customs, hi, how's it going? So what are we looking at? I think you might have got a clue since that came up. We were looking at the potential find of, or I should say the find of a potential corpse on the side of a big old cliff in Colorado. It was photographed by two lovely young ladies, and they turned it in, and that's what we've been going over. So I want to say, so what's the status of the body hanging on the mountainside? This is from Keeley Pack. They should have been motivated to confirm or dispel suspicions. Plenty to lose and possibly much to gain as well. Yeah, and that's kind of what we went over a little bit, Keely, is why would they? Why wouldn't they take it serious? I mean, even if it potentially could be a hiker or a climber, why not just take a look? It doesn't seem that difficult. They waste so much money training every day anyway. What's the difference? Yeah, we're talking about areas that people won't go into. Like most Dene natives or the Navajo won't venture into the Nahanni. Yeah, that's right. King David, great to see you. Great to see you, man. Awesome. Love to see these familiar names. Yeah, I don't know. Imperial Customs, I agree. It looks like Peridot from first glance, which is exactly why we threw it through the gamut of filtering and stuff. So just the AI work, to be honest with you, I mean, this is no joke. Just the AI work alone took like 4 hours of processing. The stuff is not. It's not easy. It's just not something that just happens. So you'd really be surprised at how much work. Oops, ooh, that was horribly loud. You'd really be surprised at how much work. Okay, don't do that. Goes into a single image, and when we're doing these type of analytical work, then putting it in 3D mapping, and what we show you is a really quick rendition of what playing with the image a little bit, but we put it through the testing, and that's what gets me is the pareidolia doesn't survive the tests very often. Okay, so what else we got here?
Amazing, man. I love your technical skills, man. I love that you're able to pull that up in Photoshop and do what you do, man. It helps to really paint the picture for what we're looking at, and it's pretty badass.
I just thought of something here based on one of the questions. For one, Keely Pack says, "Can you see what may be keeping him suspended?" And yeah, you can in that 3D stuff, you can see a little bit. It looks like there's a sharp wedge. See if we can get a static image and show that static right here, kind of underneath this side of the rib cage, and then it looks kind of in the 3D stuff that there's kind of a sharp wedge right there of stone that it could be kind of either jammed on or impaled on. And then next after that, Mr. Anderson, hello, Mr. Anderson, how are you this evening? Wrote Cougar Den, ? And that's something to actually think about, right? Could this be the body of a cougar? I don't think so. It has feet, so that's not really good possible. But the potential that could still be a den. I mean, a cougar could have got somebody and drug them to that point. They take them they take big animals into incredible places. So, and in Colorado, they got huge mountain lions. They could easily get a human being to a spot like that. Bigfoot, Renee Drew says Bigfoot skeleton. Yeah, that's kind of what I thought. Wrong proportions for a human. That's kind of what I thought as well. That's kind of what we were going over. Everything looks pretty consistent, except the shoulders are quite broad, maybe 10 or 20% broader than what we would have based on the hips, and then the arm length. The arm length is considerable. Keely Peck, do you all know the longitude and latitude? We can Google Earth it, and we don't. That's the whole point. That's what we're kind of saying. So we need to go ahead and get that information. So anyone who's in Colorado, that might be kind of local known. You could just start to kind of ask people, a cougar kill. Yeah, Mr. Anderson says, yeah, and that's kind of what we were just discussing, potential cougar kill. And could be human still. So
maybe he's trying to say a cougar came out and killed the Bigfoot as he was attempting to come up.
Well, I mean, yeah. What if it's a young Bigfoot, like a juvenile, and a 300 or 240 pound mountain lion takes it out, whatever. Anything's possible, I guess. That's why we're saying it needs to be looked at, regardless. So I'm going to move on a little bit. So I don't know if you guys know these guys. Let's see what pops up here. So what I'm showing now is a picture of my next event coming up, which is going to be, make sure I'm looking on my right board. I guess it's right there, 9/28/24 in Springfield, Missouri. And I've got some pretty cool people. Have you had a chance to meet any of these guys here, Shane Carpenter or any of them, or Jason Kenzie yet, Dan?
I haven't, man. I have, for really our whole time. It's only just recently that me showing up at Moon Lake, he's being invited, or this other one, Gold Country Pericon that I was just at. So I've really just started making myself available or wanting to go out and start to share some of our research. And and whatnot. So I haven't. I heard of you before. Ever showing up to the spots, and like I said, with respect to your research. But yeah, no, I would love to start powwowing more and become a part of more of these conferences and that kind of stuff. So
Yeah, and Missouri also has a hell of a history on the treasure end, of course, with the KGC, and it kind of might all wrap together at some point or another.
Yeah. Well, I've always, like I think I shared with you, I've always felt that these Bigfoots are, I've hung around sacred sites, man. And, one of my ideas, can't say it's true, but it seems to be true to me, at least at some of these locations that we're at, these sacred locations. Like, they're protectors of the area,
Yeah.
They could be watching over. And what is your thought? I'm gonna go ahead and ask you since I don't know this question. What's your thought on their intelligence level? Do you think they are I imagine you believe that they are pretty damn intelligent to evade most people.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. After running around with them, they're smarter than most people. I'll tell you that, because I can get away. No, really. I can dust people out there, and I almost always feel like I have the advantage with other humans, and I don't feel like I have the advantage with them at all. And I have to be absolutely 100% top of my game to get in with them, and them not know I'm there. I mean, they're really, really, really good, like extremely good. Like I've heard estimates by guys who are spec ops and stuff that if they were going to equate it, they said they figure they're 100 times more strategic than a human. Which doesn't surprise me, because every day of their life, that's what they're doing. They're moving around, trying not to spook anything. They want to be able to see everything else before it sees them. That's their world in a nutshell, and that's obvious by their habits and behavior. So,
that's awesome, because it's kind of it's really the thought that I've had in regards to them, that this is an ancient being that's been around for a long time. Is not a part of our modern civilization in the sense of you and me and everyone else, and I'm really curious. Like, one of the things I would love to do, which you are doing more in this area, is contact, man. First contact with these beings. And who's to say they don't have language and science and God knows what, just because, who knows? But
their version of it anyway.
You want to go out and hunt the Bigfoot, or I'm going to kill a Sasquatch, I'm going to go capture a Sasquatch. How about we go try make friends with Sasquatch? How about we try to have first contact and actually have a relationship, try to communicate?
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of where we've been at the time, and it's been full-on gorillas in the mist a few times for us, and even repeatedly. And what I've noticed is intelligence has nothing to do with concern. So what they're concerned with, or what occupies their mind and time, has nothing to do with us and what we do like that. But I would say the intelligence is equal, or I don't know. The reasoning is completely all there. They wouldn't be able to elude us and stay away from us if they weren't basically as intelligent as us, or even maybe more so. And I don't know what they have as far as government, or what they have as spiritual beliefs or anything like that, but I do know they use language. And they apparently are quite articulate, and even a very high rate of speed. So 25 to 50% faster than I've ever heard a person talk. They get it. Now, we've recorded them, two of them arguing really high speed fast, and one interjecting from a distance into their argument. Both of them shut up while he interjected, and then they went right back at it. And they were talking over each other. They weren't waiting for one to finish what it was saying or screaming. It was going off, and the other one just light up right on top of it. Just like people. Like, I got your point, I don't care, and I'm yelling at you, here's my point. And so it was just that full on. It was just as much as hearing, a domestic between a couple. Literally, it was just like that. And then someone else yelling, like, would you guys just shut up or whatever? And then they went right back at it. So those things to me are extremely telling about what we're dealing with. It's just so real, you know.
Yeah.
All the things you wouldn't consider. Okay, let's say you were just going to go create this whole aspect of this being. There's so many aspects that you would never consider. You just wouldn't consider them that exist that would be there with something very real, you know,
Yeah.
in the
Yeah,
natural
exactly.
world.
Have you ever put together or looked into? You know how there's a group of natives in Mexico, I believe it is, you know, where like some of the kids are completely hairy, right? You know, kind
Yeah,
of basically like Bigfoot, but they're totally, you know, human kids that have just, they of course say that gene or whatever, they're fully hairy. I'm wondering if they don't happen to have a little DNA of Bigfoot, man, and some kind of distant ancestor, or somehow someone made it with Bigfoot as a
yeah.
kid.
Well, isn't that interesting that something so perfect as an instruction to be able to tell the body to grow hair where it doesn't normally grow hair of a kind that normally doesn't grow. Such perfect instructions to get DNA to do something like that can't be a fluke. When they say, "Oh well, it's like you say, a fluke or a disease or a disorder or a problem in the DNA," that's not really possible. It's obviously it's in the DNA already. That format for hair all over the body is obviously already there and works if you turn it on. And so I think we have to consider that. What part of us needed to be that way, and why don't they do it? So Mr. Anderson has a question. Says, Rob, does Bigfoot speak with telepathy? Have you heard any experience in the community? Yeah. And so, and I'm pretty honest about it. Even though I'm an analytical person and I try to stay scientifically minded, to me that it all fits. It all goes in the same basket, and I'm not stupid and I don't deny what I experience. I have more than once been in close proximity to them when they can't really get anywhere, um, and them try to convince me that they weren't a Bigfoot. And when I say to people and I express it like this, they say, "Well, did you hear them tell you whatever?" No, I didn't hear words, but I understood the words completely, because if I hold this up, I don't need to say words for you to understand exactly what that is. You hear it in your own brain, and you'll hear it in English if you speak English. If you speak Swahili, you'll hear the Swahili word for coffee cup. But we all heard, "Oh, that's a cup." You know that in your mind. Well, that's what you get through your head. As this thing comes into your mind, what you get is cup. You get whatever. So in this case, or in several cases, what I got back was, "I'm a deer. I'm a deer," or "I'm a cow. I'm a cow." And I mean, there was the day I was sitting there literally looking at 23-inch prints on the ground. They're less than 5 minutes old. And I hear and I get this feeling inside of, "I'm a deer," or I'm sorry, "I'm a cow. I'm a cow." And I said out loud, "You're not a damn cow. I'm looking at your prints. You're not a cow." And so when we talk about telepathy, now, the other interesting point to that is telepathy isn't something that's not proven to exist, whether it's understood or not. It's proven to exist. There's been too many scientific studies on it to not have proved it. A house plant reacts to its owner when its owner is experiencing pain or even orgasm, and this is from thousands of miles away. They've tested this over and over and over. So if there's a base connection between a plant and its owner, then certainly telepathy shouldn't be out of the question. And I think that every living creature actually does that. What's your opinion on that, Dan?
I think it's absolutely 100% possible that they could use telepathy. I also, just hearing, I get a lot of, I'll call it cosmic inspiration, when you're talking and sharing some stuff. And for you to say that you're hearing, I'm a deer, I'm a cow, it's quite possible that a Bigfoot is a shapeshifter too, or capable of shapeshifting. What if you are capturing, the mind power of the being actually, yes, saying, hey, I'm a cow because he's seeing you and he doesn't want you to see him, and he's actually shape-shifting, but what if just your sheer presence of already being consciously aware that this is not a cow actually can, we say stop that magic or that transformation from happening. Because once again, you as an observer starting to get higher into the discussion or deeper into the discussion of reality, you as being an observer in that moment, stopping his transition from wave to particle, and maybe they're shapeshifters, and that could be a way they've eluded mankind for a long time as well too. What if they can shapeshift?
Well, I'll tell you something I believe on that is I think everything that's in the physical reality is so because it has a harmonic identification of frequency. And I don't think that can change. Although, knowing how the filters work in the human mind, a stout intellect against a fearful mind could certainly inspire it to see, feel, or believe whatever it wanted.
Yes, and that is, I'm glad you said that, because that's another form of shape-shifting that
Absolutely.
I believe has happened, right? And I think you're hitting the nail on the head, is that, a lot of the sages of the ages said, do not judge by appearance. Jesus said it, many of the sages have said it, don't judge by appearance, because absolutely, you could be receiving suggestions,
right?
Call it hypnotism and other forms,
right?
Deeper forms of this, and can absolutely make you believe that
well,
you're seeing a cow.
That's exactly right. So a different form of mind. If the mind needs a way out because it's too scared, and they give it that way out, I'm just a cow. It's okay. I'm just a cow. So your brain can go, it's just a cow. It's okay. It's just a cow. To find that,
able to send that message to you, if you're able to hear it while they're projecting it, there is a communication happening at a quantum level.
There you go. That's kind of where I was going with that. About, like you said, could we make contact and communicate? And I believe that's probably almost as good as we're gonna get. That's how it will happen. That's how it'll be. So I don't see them walking up and doing the kumbaya thing, just because everything they are just isn't that. We always feel the need to do that. We feel the need to meet someone. If we don't get to know them fast enough, oftentimes we alienate them and then we almost demonize them. It's kind of what people do. And
right.
And so, I just don't see that, feel that, anything like that of them. They just don't have the will or want collectively. Now, there's certain individuals who, sure enough, show their presence. Hey, I'm here, and they don't have to. They throw pebbles at you. They don't have to. You'd never know they were there if they didn't throw the pebble. So that they're certainly the ones that do want to be acknowledged and have that type of interaction. But as far as like we are, where we need to make this social contact to, I guess, feel okay. I don't see that with them. So I think that if we do have a communication, it's going to be like this cross species, mind to mind, emotion to emotion, meaning to meaning type of thing. I've always imagined being able to say, hey dude, I respect the hell out of you, let's kick it over here and bullshit for a little while. But I've been around them so much, and it's just they just don't feel like, I've never felt one want to do that, in any way. I'm reading a few more deals in the chat here. I'm getting taken by a bear. Yeah, so Wandering Star says Mexican folklore about women, their aunts would tell them about a woman getting taken by a bear, el oso, mating, and coming back to show them the kid. Maybe just Mexican folklore, but I'll tell you, it wouldn't be that out of the question, especially if the DNA analysis all across the board that they're half human comes up to be correct. Then that certainly could happen. And I mean, it probably happened with Denisovan. It probably happened with Neanderthals. Humans are pretty modern humans, say so. Cro-Magnon, we're pretty fragile on the list of wild creatures, and compared to a Denisovan, we'd be nothing. They were like 10 foot tall. So They're twice our size, regardless of what anyone wants to tell you. They weren't giants. Denisovan were huge, and they mated with modern human. So we know that because people in Tibet and other places have Denisovan DNA that allows them to live at high altitude. And it's the Denisovan DNA that's active that allows them to live up there. So we know that they interbred. So basically, if you took a 10-foot monstrous human, that would be right out of the sci-fi movie, right? Just like they're saying, where, yeah, it took a chick and had a kid, and, you know, at some point or another it was viable, and here we have a hybrid. So wondering, sorry, I wouldn't doubt that those folklore stories come from reality.
Right. Well, then that falls right in line. That folklore, which I was unaware of, it falls right in line, at least with my question earlier about these kids in Mexico. You know, that
There you
are
go.
born straight up, like basically looking like Bigfoot, but not with the statue, not the height, the size, but you know. So that's interesting.
Yeah, and back to the shapeshifting, there's been a little bit of discussion about that. And I want to tell you guys so terminology is interesting. When we have Renee Drew says Chuck Jacobs, Arizona, says one told him mentally that they do shapeshift. Okay, exactly. But if I do shapeshift, it's to your perception. So anytime I do something, it's like when I cut my hair without a mirror, I'm cutting my hair, it's visible to you. If I shapeshift, it's visible to you. So it's relative based on the observer. Does that mean that the physical form changed its atomic structure into another atomic form? Now, in order to do that, there's a lot of odd things that have to occur. And to the point of it goes beyond what we can, even in the quantum realm, you don't change mass and things like that. So these are the identity of that. So, and even under transmutation, the amount of energy still transferred over to the amount of the other. So if you were to transform to a dog, well, you'd be a 2,000 or 3,000 pound dog, basically, or whatever we're talking about. But the potential to transform in the perception of the observer, I think, is probably what we're occurring now. And I say that because the terminology is interesting. And I've said this before, when natives say they walk in two worlds, and then you have white people who are all into portals and interdimensional. Okay, so and have learned of dimensions and this and that. And I'm going to tell you about that too. We label immediately, we say what that means, walking in two worlds, and we just say what it means. We don't question the fact that the natives had two worlds. They had the physical world and the spiritual world, not two physical worlds. And to walk in two worlds was to walk in one or the other, not another edition of either. And so astro traveling is walking in two worlds. It doesn't mean that you're taking your physical body, and the physical body is just energy and harmonic anyway. So you're taking your essence where you go. The simple fact that it's not manifest doesn't make it any less impactful or real or energetic or have the same metric volume basically in where you're going. So you're still there with your power, your mass, everything else is in a form of energy. And I believe this is what we often see as the orbs in the forest, is the manifestation of the bioenergy on a quantum level with that being that's maybe laid over there in a cave or up against a tree and cruising through his territory, astro traveling. And that would be walking in two worlds. And that, if we're talking about the native view and we get the walking in two worlds from them, that would be what we need to assess, not the portals. Now, the whole even disappearing in portal trip, now that's potentially absolutely exists, because all you need is a little rip in time or an eddy or swirl in time space, and you can create something like that, and then it would go right away. And I know someone that walked into something. It wasn't like what you'd think is a doorway. He walked into an area where everything started to feel thick and got sparkly like snow on a TV set. He couldn't see that well. It was kind of foggy. He felt like it was like in a thick fog. And when he walked out of it, he was a half mile or whatever. I've said quarter mile before, but it's actually like a half mile from where he walked in. And there were no feet print in between the two. But there was no doorway that he walked through. It was like a phase change where he was out of phase for a few moments. And for that 5 seconds of movement in that phase transmitted to a half mile of physical space. He didn't go into another dimension. He just wasn't in phase with this one. And that's all there is. So if I swing my arm it goes into another dimension. My hand is in another dimension than my shoulder. If you wanted to draw the line that fine. So we say there's 5 dimensions, 10, 50. It just depends on where you want to draw the line, because it's a fluid system. It's not one to the other. That's the relative nature to curve of time space. So I think people that go on a tangent and like say they vanish, or we don't know enough information to put that together. But if we look at how things work and how the human mind works, how energy works, how matter works, the transmutation of one individual into another individual probably isn't what's going on. That's a perceptual change in the observer. 99% sure of that. Moving from one place to another may not be. That may be absolutely possible, where they literally just aren't where they were and now they're somewhere else. There is a potential that potential does exist. But at the same time, and I've said this before, people usually get to this conclusion by tracks stopping or by the appearance of them vanishing. But we've gone time after time and continued to track them where people say they vanished. They just couldn't track them because they no longer were leaving feet print and visible handprints. They were leaving marks with their toes, fingertips. And in a lot of cases, they never went anywhere. They just moved around, circled around behind the observer and were right there within 30 or 40 feet of the observer the whole time. And people really trip when you show them the marks of that, because then they realize, my God, I was out here looking around thinking he vanished and he was here just right behind me. And that's the thing, is often when humans are outdone, we're so arrogant, we feel the need to make some super fantastic explanation is why we were outdone. And it's not that hard to outdo us. So it doesn't have to be some big mystical excuse. They just tricked us. And any good magician will show you. That's why we believe it's magic, right? And always did. If we didn't know these people were not doing magic, they would fool us and we would think it's real magic. That's the whole point to the trick. So, that's a long story, but that's how I see those things. You still got you there, Dan?
Oh, yeah. I'm sorry. I'm sitting here watching you and listening to you, and then, of course, since it's off, and I'm like, I don't want to interrupt. No. Everything. I agree with so much of what you said, man. I will say that I believe anything is possible. Doesn't mean everything is happening. I am just so open to anything being possible in this mysterious, magical, amazing world. We are just re-tapping into what the ancients, have known for eons, and everything with the quantum physics and multiple dimensions and time travels, astral travel, and bumping in and out of portals. All of this, I say, is real. Who's doing it? Now that's a whole other debate to have. Who's actually done it and doing it? But I say everything that we can ever imagine, because I'm someone who believes that all of existence is mental, and that's a very limited way to describe what I mean. But all is mind, so everything that we can think of, can be done. So,
that's another thing I guess I wanted to mention too, and you kind of just brushed by it a little bit, was, I don't know if they're the cause of some of the weirdness or they're a victim of it. When we talk about disappearing tracks in snow, there's been cases where they've been tracking humans, missing people, and they had trackways in snow where the tracks just stop. And it's happened with cattle too, and deer. And then when it happens with Bigfoot, people say, well, he just walked into another dimension. And I don't know about that, because did the person, the cow, or the deer purposefully open a portal to another dimension? Or are we all victims of something else? Is something else occurring that the Bigfoot's just as susceptible to as we are? When you see a human trackway vanish, or a cow trackway vanish, or you see a Bigfoot trackway vanish, what's happening to all of us? Did the cow make a deal with an alien? Did the cow open a portal? Was it or was he just a victim of an alien abduction or a portal or whatever, you know?
Or what senses does Bigfoot have? You know, what heightened senses or you know, abilities does the Bigfoot have that we don't? What because they're not clouded by, you know, the system of things and being taught a certain way, you know, like we tell children, no, that's not true, you can't do that, so they give up the belief in such things. You know, these guys possibly don't have that. What is their teaching? What has been passed down from generation to generation in Bigfoot and what they believe and what they could do? You know, they may be seeing energies and fields differently than us. What do they perceive? So, you know, anything is possible, but it is something quite amazing to have those tracks disappear. We've got an incident in southern Utah, same shit. It's like, you know, several tracks and just gone. Right. And the snow is still there, the tracks are still there, and there's no, you know, there's many potential explanations, but there's really no sane, normal explanation unless they just blipped. You know, whether they blipped into another reality or if, you know, if they did turn into a bird and flew away, you know, who freaking knows, man.
Right. I mean, there's even a possibility that there's a type of non-human that's advanced that's protecting them, and when we get too close, they just literally pull them out of that situation and put them somewhere else. You know?
Yeah, and you know, another idea.
Anything.
Again, you know, I'm just not going to sit there and say I can prove it, but just as we see Bigfoot as Bigfoot, is it really Bigfoot? Could it be, you know, you just use the word alien or some other, you know, interdimensional being who is capable of projecting holographic, you know, could they even be, because here's something that at least answers the trail footprints disappearing. You know, I don't think, at least it doesn't fully answer it, but, you know, what if it is some form of holographic technology that can, you know, leave footprints, but as soon as they turn it off, you know,
right.
It's no longer, you know, material with weight footprints.
Well, and that's the other thing too. I think that people don't realize is you have this being in the natural world out there. Now, lots of agencies, beings, races, God knows what, they know that it's out there, and they know how we feel about them and everything else. They could be using that enigma to their advantage. And it may not be, even though Bigfoot's completely real in a whole part of the natural world, that may not be what we just witnessed that time. It may be something coming across as that. And one of the things I was noting was, you know, like mech suits. If I was going to build a mech suit and then deploy it to another country, I would just make it look like a Bigfoot. Because you could go anywhere. You could do anything. You could probably go on to any military base and they'd say, yeah, these things make it through security all the time. You know, it'd be bigger than you, more powerful than you, faster than you, cover it in hair, and it's a perfect cover for a big mech suit. So who's to say some of the things we're seeing are not super high tech robotic uniforms?
Yeah.
Being tested and developed and tested on people out in the forest, literally. I mean, my whole point is they claim they've done everything because they've had the money and the secrecy to do it. So like they said, DARPA said that, you know, if you can imagine it, we've done it. And if it's not worth it, we don't do it.
Agreed.
And so I can imagine that. I would do that, actually. I would totally do that because you could send it all over Asia, you could send it all over Russia, you could send it all over the place that they have Yarans, Yetis, all these creatures, and they could run all over the place, and that's what it would be. Perfect cover. So, I mean, who wouldn't? I mean, I would do it. So, anyway, I think we're going to start calling this, Dan. I want to say thank you for coming up with us this evening and giving a call in, man. It's been badass.
Thank you, man. I appreciate you. I love you, man, and you know, I'm humbled and excited to be able to jump on the call with you, brother. I really appreciate it, and you know, until we meet again.
Absolutely. And something else I wanted to throw out you guys that I forgot to mention was I had mentioned this show is called New Horizons, and it wasn't just because some of the contacts we made, like with Jay Stratton and these guys. It was there's a man named Eric. I can't pronounce his last name. Starts with a Z. You're gonna kill me, Eric, if you hear this. But anyway, greatest guy in the world. He did Bigfoot and Brews. He runs Uncomfortable Podcast, and we will be doing a collaborative show pretty soon. And since I'm in and out and all over the place, and he's not, he's a very scheduled individual, and he's got a Uncomfortable Podcast is already a pretty large podcast. They're in the upper 0.5% globally downloaded podcasts, and but KX is going to be exclusively working with them, and we'll be doing these Enigma Recons with Eric and another host, and we'll be tying these things all together. So he'll be reproducing these shows that we do, adding content, and then releasing them on the podcast. So keep an eye out for that. I just wanted to make everybody aware. I was actually going to talk to Eric tonight, but I know it got to be too late. So, but anyway, yeah, let me hit the chat real quick, make sure we've hit everything here that we really need to hit. Rotating running mech suit. Gillied mech suit. Yeah, Wonder Star. Gillied mech suit. Bigfoot, Robin Hayes' house. We're screaming overhead. Dave. Okay, so it looks like we're pretty well caught up on the chat anyway. No specific questions. So again, Dan, thank you very, very much, man, for rolling in with us. I want to thank everybody here for showing up this evening with us and carrying on. Another Enigma Recon down. If you have any questions, input, or whatever, feel free to reach out and contact us. The comments are always good. Comments are great because it actually helps push YouTube. The other thing is, please smash the like button, like they say, because it's the only thing that pushes us through the throttling YouTube does. We go way up like this, and then we go flat. So the only thing that keeps us going up.
I just subscribe to you, brother. Just hit the like as well. I just want to thank everyone for listening as well. You can find my website, dandillman.com, and my YouTube is Montezuma Treasure. So look forward to powwowing with you again, brother. I appreciate you.
All right, you guys, everybody, you heard that. Go look Dan up, follow his shit. He's everywhere, so there's a lot deeper things going on. So, all right, you guys, thank you very much. Been great.
All right, brother.
Love you guys.